Okay, let's dive in. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs, the really surprising discoveries, they seem to come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. And lately, scientists have been looking underwater, like way underwater.
Yeah, specifically at one of the ocean's, let's say, less glamorous residents.
That's one way to put it. We're talking about a fascinating new finding. It's from a study led by the University of Mississippi, and Science Daily just reported on it June 11th, 2025.
Right. And our focus today, what we want to unpack for you, is what the source material tells us about a potential link between, believe it or not, the humble sea cucumber and maybe some brand new ways to think about cancer therapy.
It sounds kind of wild when you put it like that.
It does.
Yeah.
So our mission here in this deep dive is really to walk through what the source says. What is this compound they found? How do they think it actually works? What are the potential upsides that have researchers excited? And critically, what are the big challenges still ahead?
Yeah, it's a classic setup, isn't it? Finding potential power where you least expect it. So let's get into what the source actually reveals.
Absolutely. So first up, the creature itself, the sea cucumber.
Most people probably think of them as, well, the ocean's janitors, right? They just kind of ooze along the seabed, filtering sand.
Cleaning things up,
Yeah.
cycling nutrients. Yeah, not exactly the star of the nature show.
Definitely not. You don't see many action figures.
No. But the surprising twist here, and this is what the research highlights, is that these, quiet bottom dwellers might actually hold a really powerful secret, something against, cancer.
And the source gets specific about what that secret is. It's a particular compound, a complex sugar found inside them.
Okay, here we go. It's called fucosylated chondroitin sulfate.
Yeah. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Right. It is a mouthful.
It is, no doubt. But the source makes it clear this isn't just any old sugar compound. It's described as pretty unique. You don't find it commonly in other organisms, and especially not in the lambs get other drugs from.
And that uniqueness, that's the key.
That's exactly why, and the source actually quotes this, they're considered worth studying. That unique chemistry is the starting point.
Gotcha. And the study itself, it sounds like quite an effort. Led by University of Mississippi, but also involved researchers from Georgetown University, lead author Marwa Farad mentioned.
Oh yeah, definitely a team effort. Science is collaborative like that. So, okay, let's shift from what they found to how they think it actually works. The study zeroes in on how this sugar interacts with a specific enzyme in our body.
Right, an enzyme called SOLF2. And the source says SOLF2 plays a really big role in cancer getting worse.
Exactly. It's involved in growth, sure, but maybe more importantly, in the spread of cancer, what doctors call metastasis.
Metastasis, okay.
And to really get how SOLF2 does this, the source uses this great analogy involving the surface of our cells.
Yes, the forest analogy.
Yeah.
They talk about these structures on our cell surfaces, these sugar chains called glycans, as being like a dense forest.
Yeah, exactly, a forest. And these glycans, they're super important. They help cells talk to each other, help the immune system recognize things. Really vital stuff.
But cancer cells mess with this.
They do. They're sneaky. They alter these glycan structures. And one tool they use is enzymes like SOLF2.
And the analogy was that SOLF2 acts like it's pruning the leaves.
Pruning the leaves of the glycan forest, precisely.
Yeah.
By changing that structure, the enzyme basically creates conditions that help the cancer cells break loose and spread more easily.
Okay, that makes sense. So the logic follows.
Yeah.
If SOLF2 helps cancer spread,
then stopping SOLF2, inhibiting it, could be a way to fight that spread. Fight metastasis.
and that's what this sea cucumber sugar seems to do.
That's the finding, yeah. And they didn't just, guess. They used computer modeling first to predict how the sugar molecule might latch onto SOLF2.
Okay. Virtual experiment.
Right. And then they went into the lab and did actual tests. And the source specifically notes this, which is important. The results from the lab matched up with what the computer simulations predicted. They were consistent.
That adds confidence.
Huge confidence boost at this stage. So that's the how it works part. But what seems to have scientists really interested are the potential advantages this specific compound might have over, say, other ways of targeting SOLF2 or even existing drugs.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Because one of the biggest potential wins they found, it's about patient safety.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, unlike some other drugs that might affect similar pathways, or even, traditional carbohydrate drugs sometimes sourced from animals like pigs, this sea cucumber compound doesn't seem to interfere with blood clotting.
And that is just massive. Think about it. Cancer patients, they might already be fragile. If your treatment messes with blood clotting,
You risk uncontrolled bleeding. which can be catastrophic.
Exactly. A devastating side effect. So the fact that this molecule seems to sidestep that particular danger, that's a major, major plus.
They also mention another potential advantage, sort of related to the source itself. Because it comes from the ocean, it might be a cleaner resource compared to, say, pigs again.
Yeah, the thinking there is you potentially have less risk of transferring things like viruses or, other agents that can sometimes be an issue when you're extracting biological stuff from land mammals. It touches on purity and safety.
And it's worth remembering, too, why look at nature in the first place? Synthesizing these kinds of really complex sugar molecules from scratch in a lab.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult and usually very expensive. Nature often does the complex chemistry for us, providing the blueprint.
Okay, so that's the promise. Lots of potential upsides. But the source is also realistic about the hurdles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Very clear on that. The main one is, pretty basic. Supply.
Abundance.
Yeah.
Sea cucumbers. They're not exactly farmed like corn. You can't just order up tons and tons of sea cucumbers, as the source puts it.
Not easily or sustainably, no. And adding to that, in some places, certain types are actually eaten. They're a delicacy.
Ah, okay. So that complicates harvesting them purely for medicine.
It does. So the absolutely essential next step, the big make or break challenge, is figuring out how to make this sugar compound in the lab. Chemical synthesis.
They need a chemical route, as the source says.
Exactly. To get a reliable, sustainable supply that doesn't mean wiping out sea cucumber populations. That's hurdle number one.
And assuming they can crack that synthesis problem, what comes next?
Then the research pipeline moves forward. You take that lab-made compound and you start testing it rigorously in animal models. See how it behaves in a whole living system.
It's a long road.
It really is. And the source also makes a point to emphasize this discovery wasn't one person in a basement lab. It took a whole range of expertise.
Right. They listed chemistry, pharmacognosy, that's natural product drugs.
Computational biology for the modeling, mass spectrometry to identify the molecule precisely, biochemistry, enzyme studies.
It highlights how modern science works. It really was the effort of the whole team, as they said.
Totally. You need all those pieces working together. And of course, the source mentions the funding context too. NIH grants supporting this kind of basic foundational research. That's how these early discoveries often get off the ground.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit.
Yeah.
And summarize what we've learned from this source. We've got this specific sugar fucosylated chondroitin sulfate from sea cucumbers.
Right. And it shows real promise, at least in these early studies, for blocking an enzyme, SULF2. That's pretty critical for cancer growth and especially for its spread.
And the potential advantages seem pretty compelling, especially, avoiding those dangerous blood clotting problems seen with some other potential therapies, and maybe being a cleaner source.
Potentially, yeah. And this is it's crucial for everyone listening to remember this is early days. Very promising, but early.
The major roadblock right now is making the stuff in the lab, synthesis, before it can even get close to more advanced testing in animals, let alone people.
Exactly. Lab synthesis is the key next step.
Still, this research is such a cool reminder, isn't it? That potential breakthroughs, things that could really help people, aren't always found where you'd expect. Sometimes you have to look, at the bottom of the ocean, at a creature just doing its thing.
It really does hammer home the incredible, often hidden chemical library that exists in nature. You think about the unique conditions in the ocean, the pressure, the different chemistry down there. What other secrets could be waiting? Secrets that could benefit human health if we just knew where and how to look.
That is a fascinating question to think about as you listening reflect on this discovery. What stands out to you about this intersection? Where nature's own complexity meets our scientific drive to understand and maybe even harness it.